All right, are we good? We're ready to go? Okay. So I was saying earlier to, not the last group, but I think the group before, that they looked like very attentive students in the classroom. Didn't even look like anybody was blinking because they were so intrigued with what was going on the stage. And actually, it is going to be maybe a little bit like a classroom because this Chef Trevor Randle, is from BC Agriculture in the classroom. So he's used to teaching future chefs, I should say.
Sure.
And so he's going to show us a little bit of his own expertise here. Thank you. Thanks to BC Cranberries and the pickleball game that's going on right next door. So the BC Cranberry Marketing Commission produces a lot of cranberries annually. We just redid the math to make sure this was all accurate. BC Cranberry Marketing Commission is the sponsor, and their mission is to enhance the viability of the BC cranberry industry through research, industry promotions, communications, and regulations.
Coming up at 4:15 on the Women and Wellness stage, join Alan Portal. The development of nanosilver and its use in skincare and anti-aging.
See, it's just like being in the
And
class.
at 4:15 on the Living Well stage, join Kamal McCad, speaking on community care-driven services. Both at 4:15 on the Women in Wellness and the Living Well stage.
At least they're not calling my name to the principal's office or anything. So most BC growers, I just want to finish this because this is a substantial amount of cranberries that are produced. Most BC growers are multi-generational family farms that produce roughly 100 million pounds of cranberries every single year. That is, it's not a ton of cranberries, it's a lot of cranberries, a lot more than that. So Chef, thank you very much for coming. Let me just give you an official intro here. Trevor is making a toasted quinoa salad with roasted BC cranberry dressing, with, of course, cranberries from BC Cranberry. He's the chef for BC Agriculture and the Classroom Foundation. He promotes the value of cooking with BC-grown products and plays an integral role in fostering BC Agriculture in the Classroom's Take a Bite of BC program in secondary school teaching kitchens. So it is over to you. And if you have questions, put up your hand. I will come find you, and it's all yours.
All right, thank you so much, everybody. Yeah, thank you for being here. What a great time. My first time at the Wellness Show, so it's been pretty spectacular so far. So yeah, so my name's Trevor Randle. As the chef of the BC Ag Classroom, I get the chance to go around to so many different places just like this, showcase our local agriculture, and really just have fun and cook and share what we love to do, and that's just cooking and using local agriculture, right? So today, thanks to the BC Cranberries, we're going to feature them a couple of different ways, and hopefully you learn a few techniques and enjoy this on your own, yeah? So let's get started. Oh, and there's lots of samples at the end too, so be ready, yahoo! All right, so before we can start talking about the luxurious cranberries here, we kind of got to get the other parts going before we can bring in the cranberries, right? So quick, what we're going to do is we're going to do a few different things. So I'm not going to worry too much about measurements. You can visit our website, bcaitc.ca, for all the measurements and the ingredients. So we're just going to go through, and of course, as mentioned, if there's any questions at all, shout them out, all right? Or raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. So I'm going to grab a squash here. The recipe calls for a buttered cup squash. So I just like these ones, but there wasn't any, so guess what? Super flexible. You can grab whatever squash you like, whatever squash is available, okay? We got this karate here. Really tough. All right, so it's got to cut the ends off so it stays nice and stable. Then, of course, we've got the seeds inside. We're just going to scoot them out into the compost. Okay, this is a pretty big one, so I'm just going to use half. So what we're going to do here, we're going to start to roast some things. But by roasting them, we're going to caramelize those sugars, or bring out, rather intensify some of the flavors, and just increase the flavor so every bite is just like an explosion, right? So before we get going, always a good little chef tip. Whenever you've got your cutting board on the table, you want to secure it. Make sure you grab yourself some kind of a damp cloth. Put it right underneath, especially when you're using things like squash. It's really hard. We're going to be using a lot of pressure. We don't want to be chasing our cutting board around the table. So then it's got to stay nice and secure. Okay, so chef tip number 1. So next, I've cleaned out my squash. We're going to cut it up into kind of bite-sized pieces, right? So here, you get to decide how big you want your squash. But whatever you choose, just make sure it's consistent, right? Because when we put it inside the oven, we want it all to cook at the same time. I'm going to go fairly thin. I'm not going to peel the squash because we're going to roast it, and it's going to have good color, good texture, and you know, all those nutrients are right there. So I'm going to cut it into, I don't know, 2 centimeter slices. All right, you see how tough it is? All right, so from there, I'm just going to cut it into little bite-sized pieces, okay? And again, by roasting it, we're going to make it a little bit sweeter. Because when we make a dish, we're always thinking about balance, right? So of course, cranberries are tart, right? They got lots. So we want to figure out how to add some sweetness without adding anything like sugar or anything like that, right? So these squash have lots of sugar inside. We're just going to enhance that a little bit. So see, just kind of slice like so. And we'll finish these. So all we're going to do next is throw these onto a roasting pan, a baking sheet. A little bit, I've got some avocado oil today, but of course you can use whatever oil you like. We're going to throw them in a 375-degree oven for about 9-12 minutes. All right. So super key when you're cooking, practice your knife skills. Knife skills, knife skills. So not only is your dish going to look nicer if kind of all the pieces are the same and consistent, but they're going to cook at the same time, which is even more important, right? So I'm making consistent sized pieces. When one is done in the oven, they will all be done. All right? So, all right, quick. And remember, don't try to go fast in the beginning. Just take your time. Safety, consistency is key. And then speed will come. All right? So, just like that. See, that's a lot of squash from just half that. We'll grab our roasting pan. And it goes. And then to add another element here, I want to roast some fennel. So of course, fennel kind of got that anise flavor. And again, once we roast it, it's going to give a little bit of sweetness, which of course will counterbalance our cranberries, yeah? So, very quick. Same deal. I'll cut into maybe these ones 1 centimeter slices. All right. And then I'm just going to kind of julienne these or kind of cut them into sticks. All right. Nothing too fussy, nothing too pretentious. Just good local food that we're going to make delicious. All right. And even with that, right, it's becoming so easy to eat local. It doesn't take a lot of effort to eat local anymore. Back years and years ago, you'd have to know a really good meat person and a really good farm, right? But now you can go to your local grocery store, your local Nesters, and of course just pick up so much local stuff without even much of an effort, right? And the benefits of eating local are so great, right? Not only are we supporting our local farmers, but you know, spend 2 minutes with these farmers and see the passion that they have for making like amazing food, and you can't go wrong, right? All right, so we've got our fennel on there, our squash. I'm going to take a little bit of our avocado oil, just kind of drizzle it. So this is, with the oil, it's going to make the heat more even on all the vegetables, yeah? So of course, with everything, we're going to season. I've got some fine sea salt here, whatever salt you like to use, and just some pepper. All right. Just like so. So again, if we make every element taste really good on their own, by the time we put it together, it's going to be really good, right? So we'll mix it all together. All right. Make sure it's all coated so that heat conducts evenly, just like so. Into that 375-degree oven. All right. 9 to 12 minutes. And when we're done, ta-da, we've got beautiful, nice, soft. You don't really want to make them too brown and you don't want to make them too mushy, right? Which is why I like the kohlrabi squash or the butter cup squash, because they're a little drier, right? So they're not going to fall apart and get too mushy. So you want some texture in there, because we're going to do quinoa, of course, really mushy. So we want to put all sorts of balance. We're going to go sweet and sour. We're going to go softer with the quinoa, and then we'll add some texture with all our vegetables, right? So that's really going to make your mouth like really excited as you start to eat this, all right? So then, just for fun, when I started making this recipe, and I knew I was featuring local cranberries, I thought, well, what if we just, for the dressing, we'll roast some cranberries. What will happen there? So same deal, just some cranberries on the tray, a little more of that avocado oil, a little salt and pepper in that same oven for about 9-10 minutes. And what these are going to do is make the cranberries nice and soft, and what sugar they have inside is going to start to caramelize, and we're going to intensify that cranberry flavor. So it's even a bigger pop. So same deal, just in that oven.
Who here has roasted cranberries before?
You know what? Me neither until I decided to try it, right? So, okay. So, when we're finished, what we're going to be left with are these nice soft roasted down cranberries, okay? Which we're going to use for our dressing. Alright, so we have a little more chopping to do as well, but let's turn our attention to the quinoa a little bit. Of course, quinoa is super healthy, pretty trendy right now too, right? Even students in our classrooms are loving the quinoa salad, quinoa you know, as a side dish, quinoa as a main lunch. So I thought, why not, right? So of course, quinoa, full of protein, it's got it's like the perfect protein, right? So again, I'm always thinking of ways to elevate a dish, right? We could absolutely throw the quinoa in here, add the water, bring it to a boil, cover it up, leave it for 10 minutes, finish. We've got nice fluffy quinoa. But what if we toast it, right? So in a dry pot, over a medium-high heat, quinoa goes inside. So it's a ratio, right? It's 2 to 1. So if I've got half a cup of quinoa, I need 1 cup of water. Here I think I've got 1 cup of quinoa, 2 cups of water, okay? So on it goes. Has anybody ever toasted sesame seeds or things like this? Exact same, right? So, or any kind of spice. So we're just gonna go. And eventually you'll start to hear it kind of pop and make some noise, and you'll really get this nutty flavor, right? So that's really what you're looking. So again, it just goes from being normal quinoa to an elevated, nuttier, more flavorful quinoa, right? So it's a super little hack that you can do, and it just kind of makes like, hey, how come that person's quinoa salad so much better than mine? Well, the secret is at the wellness show, you decide to learn to start toasting it, all right? So let this go maybe 2 minutes more to start to pop. We're just going to add our water. All right. Like making any quinoa, we're going to bring it to a boil, turn it down to a simmer, go about 10 minutes, take it off the stove for 5 minutes, and it's done. Just super simple, okay? All right. And again, when we're done, we'll have this beautiful quinoa already. I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me make quinoa, okay? Although I would love to hang out with you all that long, I don't think the folks here want to be here quite all night. All right, so there's our nice fluffy quinoa. Nothing much. Be sure when you're making a quinoa, don't mash it, right? Even better with a fork to kind of fluff it up, right? Okay, just like so. So it's got that nice nutty aroma, but still it needs some flavor. This kind of lets us be super creative, because whatever we add to this is what the flavor is going to be. It's a perfect vessel, right? So we'll keep that on its side. So now we know we've got our roasted fennel, we've got our roasted squash. We're going to add some shallot. Is anybody familiar with shallots? All right, yeah. So again, little chef hat. We're going to, just like you do an onion, we're going to take the bottom end off, and we're going to cut the root end just barely. We're going to cut through the roots. Okay? Can you guys see that on the TV? I forgot the camera. Yeah. Perfect, that's even better. So we're going to cut it so both sides have a piece of that root, okay? From there, I'm just going to peel it, and it should peel really easily, unless you're in front of a bunch of people on a stage, and it's going to be really hard, yeah. But we'll figure it out together, all right? Okay, so we'll take off a layer. There we go. Just like so. From there again, this is my salad. So I always like to tell, where I'm telling my students or young cook, when I have something like this, all these ingredients, like my squash, my kale, my shallot, they're all flavor and they're all there for flavor, but they're also for visual, right? So I call these like functional garnishes. So if I cut them all the same, make them look nice, my salad's gonna look nicer. We could absolutely just cut this up and throw it in, but it's not gonna be like the same experience, right? We heard the saying, we eat with our eyes first. You know, you walk by a bakery and you're like, oh, that looks good, I gotta try that. You don't know it tastes good, it just looks good, so you're excited, right? Same deal here. So check it out, we're just gonna make these pretty small, a little what we call brunoise. I'm gonna cut through at the tip of my knife, but not go past the root. So it's all together. We can be super fancy and do a little horizontal cut. So now we've got all these cuts, but it's all staying together because we haven't cut through the root, okay? You ever cut an onion up, it's just all over, so you end up just like hacking it up, all right? So now from here, pinky and my thumb squeeze together, curl the fingers back, and we can just cross cut. You know, turn into perfect brunoise every time, all right? Just like that. So I'll do that quickly one more time here. All right. Always paying attention to that other hand, right? Don't leave those fingers exposed. Fingers go back. Okay. Do a little horizontal cut, and away we go. Okay. So I've already cut some. Was added to our little dish here. Okay. Is anybody familiar, I should ask, with the BC Agriculture in the Classroom Foundation? Have we heard of this? Yeah, for sure. Does anybody have children in their family who go to public school? For sure, right? So biggest program BC Agriculture in the Classroom does, of course, is the BC Fruit and Veggie program, where students receive in their yellow bins those apples and tomatoes and peppers to their classroom, right? Yeah, now people understand, right? So that's BC Agriculture in the Classroom's biggest program, right? The job of myself and the fine people at BC Ag in the Classroom is just to bring agriculture education to the school system, right? Whether it's in cooking classes, they'll grow potatoes, they use them in elementary school science classes to do predictions and measurings and all this, right? So just bringing agriculture into the classroom, all right? So yeah, check it out. Check out the website, see all the programs they do. So we're getting there. So now I've got some beautiful kale. Now that nice crunch. For this one, I'm just going to take the stem out. Okay, cut the stem right out. Then we're just left with that yummy leafy green. All right, and not forgetting about our things in the oven, right? Okay, and same as the kale. You know, you want to go ahead and throw some purple kale in there? Yeah, go for it, right? This is up to you. For me, it's just like I never go to the grocery store with like a set list, right? I go to the grocery store just looking for what I'm feeling inspired by it, right? Especially when you've got such amazing grocery stores like Nestor's and stuff, right? You know, the presentation are so nice, the people are proud where they work, so everything just looks phenomenal. And just walk through, maybe have an idea of what you want to make, but be flexible, right? If, you know, you're looking for I don't know, you know, you feel you want some chicken that night, but you get there and the pork looks really, really great, well, you get the pork, right? You should adapt. Question, yes? Sorry, we'll bring up microphones.
Do you always throw the stem away from the kale?
Typically, right? Like, unless I'm making like a, well, no, that's not true. So if I'm making like a soup or something, it'll absolutely, we can puree it and make a kale soup. But for this salad, because we're in this small place, it's just gonna get composted today. But no, in the kitchen, nothing gets wasted, right? Like, nothing gets wasted. Definitely not. Good question. For this one specifically, you know, if you want to throw the stem in this salad, knock yourself out, go for it, right? It'll be amazing. Add some extra crunch. Yeah, no, great question. But for this one, this is the texture I'm going for. But yeah, very, very few things go in the bin in the kitchen, right? Whether I'm at home or if I'm at work, right? Perfect. Excellent question. Thank you. Yeah. Good. So all I'm doing here, to show you, just taking the leaves, kind of lining them up, and I'm just doing kind of what we call a chiffonade, like a really, really thin cut, right? Maybe you roll them up. You might see this with basil, and then we're just going to do a one-time little slice, okay? So these have lots of elements, but once all your chopping's done, the putting this together is super simple. So this is great for a picnic, a party, right? Because you can do this the day before. It'd be wonderful in the next day after it sits in the fridge and develops all those flavors, okay? So we'll finish chopping these. And again, give some, as I mentioned, that functional garnish. It adds like nice pop of color. It's going to add that texture, right? Texture is so important in a great dish, not having everything all the same, okay? So just in the interest of time, look at that. Okay, so just like that, we kind of got all our elements. Cranberries are in there, and of course, when these come out, they're going to be these beautiful roasted cranberries as well. All right. So now we get to turn to the star of the show, and that's really this roasted cranberry dressing that's going to bind this all together and just highlight all these ingredients. So we kind of made all these things nice and sweet, so now we need to counterbalance that with something kind of tangy and slightly bitter sour, right? So we're going to make a really simple dressing. All right. So in here I've got some more of that avocado oil. All right. Got some red wine vinegar. Got some of those roasted cranberries we're going to put inside. Okay, it's going to be a beautiful color, and we're going to have this really acidic, delicious dressing. Last little bit, we're going to add some fresh lemon juice, and do yourselves a favor. If you're using lemon juice, you need lemon juice, grab yourself a lemon, right? You know, in a pinch, if you have to use that stuff in the plastic lemon, I mean, you do what you have to do. But yeah, the brightness, the freshness that just a fresh citrus brings is just out of this world. I don't know any chef who doesn't love acid, right? So also too, we're going to balance some of that tartness of that cranberry just by using acid, right? Okay, to this, got a little bit of Dijon mustard, grainy, smooth, doesn't matter. In it goes. Of course, some local garlic. A couple of cloves will do. Just kind of push it down. And we're going to blend it up so you don't have to go too fussy. And you decide if you really like garlic, add 3. Not so much, add 1, right? So to get the paper off there, I'll just kind of smash it down. And it should peel really easily. Again, most people are watching. All right, we'll cut off the end, and we're just blending it up anyway, so I'll just throw it right inside. All right, pull that off. Okay, now this is going to get pretty thick. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a little bit of water, all right, to make it the consistency we're looking for. All right, here we go. So already you can see that the nice pink color we're trying to go for, right? Just making those cranberries really, really pop. I don't know what this is doing, but it's doing something. All right, well, it's working though, so we're in good shape. All right, so at this point, it looks pretty darn good. All right, so here, let me put this into a little bowl maybe so you can see. Let's see. Find myself a rubber spatula or something. All right, so see what we have here? Nice looking dressing, right? And that's it. As always, oh, wait, do we have tasting spoons? Do we have spoons? So, Mel, maybe here? Nope, it's all fake up here. I'm not gonna find anything. So, of course, we always want to taste, right? So we're going to taste our salad dressing. We're adding enough salt and pepper until we're happy with it. And then if it ends up being too thick, you haven't really made like a mayonnaise or any kind of emulsification. So you can, okay, I'll get it, thanks. You can add as much water. Awesome, thank you. Add as much water as you need to get a nice consistency like that. But I'm pretty happy with that, right? So So always tasting. So it's acidic. It's good. It's acidic. It's those cranberries are really popping, and just the change that happens when you roast them, it just makes it this like really unique balance. So this is so good. So for me, when we generally make a salad dressing, we go to about 3 to 1 oil to acid, right? I usually go more like 1 to 1. I love my salad dressings like super acidic, but especially in this one, because we're putting in all this kind of plain quinoa, we need to create kind of a good punch. Okay, so that's that. So why don't we make this happen, go to the plate, shall we? And then we'll sample it out. So it could not be any simpler. Now you've done all the work. All right. So we'll start with our quinoa. I'm going to add actually my dressing right in here, maybe a quarter cup at most. Remember, you can always add more, but you can't take it out, right? And we're just going to kind of start to work it in there. We're not looking to bind it together too much, just season it, yeah? Okay. And again, it's up to you if you want more or less dressing. But already, see that nice, beautiful pink color we've got? That's amazing. So I would just eat this just like this, right? I would just add those cranberries inside, and we've got that nice pop, but we're going to elevate it with these other ingredients. So we've got lots of acid, we've got the tart cranberries in there, so now we're going to balance it with your roasted squash. And what do you see the colors? Our roasted fennel. Right. We have our shallots. Okay. We'll add some of our shredded kale, and just gently, we're going to bring this all together. Okay. So try to mash it up. Try to just kind of fold. All right. So already you can start to see what's happening here, coming together. And this is great as a side dish. Amazing as like a nice lunch on its own. All right. From here, I love using fresh herbs. So I'm going to take some Italian parsley. Again, I'm going to kind of squish all those up. All right. And we're just going to mince that up a little bit. Some herbs you can keep bigger, you know, like basil, cilantro. But other herbs like parsley, you want to go a little bit smaller. So we're just going to keep the tip of our knife on the board, go back and forth, and bring this all together, like so. So again, this will add just another level of freshness that we're looking for. All right, and it'll make it look nice. So in that goes. Okay, toss it around. And then of course, another element of cranberries, we add that craisin, which I'm sure most people are familiar with. And again, when I first found out, if you're buying the craisins, most of our cranberries in British Columbia go towards craisins, which is pretty fascinating, right? So it's always nice that a really well-known product is actually supporting our own logo. It's our product, right? Which is awesome. So we'll add our craisins inside, which will add another element of texture, a little more sweetness. Okay, just like so. It just comes together like that. So, okay. So from here, we're going to season it just a little bit, because I didn't season my quinoa beforehand. Alright, a little bit of seasoning. You see the colors, all those vegetables, and super satisfying, right? Full of protein. Alright, so let me show you how I would serve this. So I've got a nice bowl. So I love doing family style, right? You can go super nice and do individual ones, but let's just throw it in a nice bowl right here. Is that on the camera there? Can I see that? Okay, perfect. So, and it goes all those different textures, the beautiful dressing, side like so, okay. And then we're going to finish it off on top with a few of our roasted cranberries, just to give that little punch. And there we have it, gang, a toasted quinoa salad featuring amazing roasted local cranberries. I hope you try it, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks so much for having me here.
Amazing. Thanks, Trevor. Any questions? Oh, we have questions. Let's wait until the end.
Yes, it went in there. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I just made a lot. Yeah. Yeah, again, you want more, you go. You put more in, for sure.
Where's the recipe?
Oh, yeah. So visit our website, bcaitc.ca. So BC Agriculture in the Classroom is the acronym for that. bcaitc.ca. So you'll find my recipes. You'll find recipes from some amazing chef instructors from all over the province, featuring a lot. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Trevor.
All right, thank you, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. Lots of samples. Enjoy. Thank you.
Thanks to BC Cranberries. And yes, you can see that lineup starting. So get in line. And then we will be back for our last show of today with Chris Andraza from Lift Bar and Grill. We'll see you soon.